I see a lot of people doing these mistakes and I have done it in the past, but you don't have to do it. The first step is to prep your skin before makeup. On my right side, I'm going to be prepping my skin, and on my left side, I'm not going to be applying anything. I'm showing you the bare minimum that you absolutely will need for your makeup to look flawless. On my right side, I can already see that the pores look more minimized and it looks smoother, whereas on my left side, the pores are bigger and I can see the fine lines. I'm going to be using the same products on both sides in same quantity so you can see the difference. Starting with the foundation, I'm taking one pump of the foundation. And on my left side, I'm going to dip a damp sponge into the foundation and start dabbing it on my skin. This is an absolute no-no. I've seen a lot of people dip the sponge directly in the product. What this does is the sponge is going to absorb all the product. As you can see, the sponge has absorbed quite a bit of product. On this side, it's not completely covered up, and that's why you can still see those dark spots and hyperpigmentation. On my right side, I'm going to first dot the product on my face and then start blending it out with the sponge. Again, I'm using the same quantity on this side and I'm using the same damp sponge. You can clearly see the difference. It's covered more on the right side as compared to the left side, where I've used the same product and the same quantity. On my left side, I'm going to be doing what many of us do. Use a lot of concealer. Concealers are supposed to be used for concealing, which means they're pretty thick, and using a lot can make it cakey. On my right side, I'm going to be using minimum concealer just to conceal in areas where I have hyperpigmentation or uneven skin tone. I also use a little bit in the sides of my nose to negate the shadows that are formed, and a little bit around my mouth where the hyperpigmentation is. And then with a damp sponge, I blend everything out with the foundation so it looks seamless. The next mistake that people do to set the foundation is use a lot of powder. It's going to look extremely cakey, especially in person. What you'll actually need is very less powder. On my right side, I'm using the sponge that I used to blend out my foundation. I'm going to dip it in the powder, and I'm going to first set in areas where I use the concealer and I feel like those are the areas that will crease first. I took very less powder, and then with a large powder brush, I'm going to buff this out throughout the face. My left side looks extremely cakey, especially in person, and I feel like I have a lot of product. And on my right side, my skin looks beautiful even in person. I'm going to be using a pomade to fill in both the sides. On my left side, I'm going to start filling it in, actually overly filling it in. Another mistake that people do is overfilling on the inner side of the brows. But on my right side, I'm going to use the spoolie first to brush my brow hair downwards, and again I'm using the pomade to draw hair-like strokes only in sparse areas. And then in between, I'm going to keep using the spoolie brush to spread out the product so it doesn't look very concentrated in one spot. And then I'm going to use the spoolie to brush my brow hair upwards and start filling in the lower part of my brows. And so far, I've completely avoided the inner side of my brows, if you observe. Now with whatever minimum residue is left on the brush, I'm going to use it in the inner side. For eye makeup, I'm going to be using the Juvia's Place Masquerade palette today. I'm going to be using the same colors on both lids. On my left side, I'm going to first start with Cairo in my crease. Again, let's remember that I haven't primed my left side, so it's going to appear less pigmented and it's harder to blend. I'm going to be adding more eyeshadow to increase the intensity, and I'm going to keep on blending to try to soften it. And then on my lids, I'm going to be using Ada. On my right side, again, I'm using the same colors, starting with Cairo. I'm going to very softly blend it out in the very outer corner of my lid. And because I've primed my lid, there are no oils on my lid, which makes it easier to blend and soften the eyeshadows. And then I'm going to be using Ada in the very outer corner of my lid as well as my lower lash line, smoking it out. Then I'm going to be using Giza to highlight my inner corners as well as brow bones. This will draw more light towards your eyes, making your eyes appear brighter. Bigger wings and bigger eyeliners. It doesn't suit everybody. If you can carry it, then kudos to you. But in person, it can look a little boxy. And if you have hooded eyes, especially, this kind of a wing and eyeliner is a complete no-no. If you really want to do a winged liner, try to keep it low and close to your lash line to make it look more classy. Let's go back to the face and talk about sculpting. Let's start with contouring. I'm going to start with the hollows of my cheekbones, and a mistake that I've seen a lot of people do is just drag the color down from the ear to the mouth. So you're just drawing a line from the ear to the mouth, not even blending it out, and keeping it really dark. On my right side, I'm going to feel the hollows of my cheeks, and then I'm going to use very less contour just to add depth in the hollows. I'm going to keep it pretty high up, and I'm not going to drag it all the way to my mouth, and I'm not dragging the color. Instead, I'm dabbing the brush. Here's how the right side looks as compared to the left side. If you're going to be using a bronzer to warm up your face, make sure not to kind of drag and blend out in a way that you pull some of that product from underneath, like I'm showing you on my left side. To get that sun-kissed look, use a bronzer right above the contour on your cheekbones. You can also use it in the circumference of your face to give that depth and warmth. When you apply too much bronzer and you've left no space for the blush is going to mix with the bronzer and the colors change. And I've also seen a lot of people apply too much blush all over the apples of the cheeks, dragging it all the way to the ear. And that looks a little tacky. You have to first recognize what you'd like to enhance. For me, I have cheekbones that are higher up, so I apply the blush higher up to give it a more lifted look. But don't make the mistake of applying it on the apples and higher up and all over the cheeks, and then mix it with the bronzer and the contour as well. And then you will be left with no space for the highlighter, so you will go over this with the highlighter as well. Now all the colors are mixed. And when you apply too much highlighter, remember that it will show your pores and fine lines even more. So it's going to enhance the texture on your face. Instead, try to look for spots where you don't have much texture and use very less highlighter right there. It should almost look like the glow is coming from within, as opposed to applying too much highlighter on your face and shining. Here's the left side. Feels like the colors are all mixed up, versus the right side, it looks softer and subtle. When it comes to lipstick, I see that a lot of us apply the lipstick within the borders and don't completely fill in the lips, especially the outer corner. Instead, try to overdraw just a tad bit. Keep it natural, don't overdraw too much, just a tad bit to enhance your lips, and then fill everything in. Don't forget to use a setting spray to set your face so your makeup lasts longer. Just like you set your hair with a hairspray to keep it in place and hold it in place, you need a setting spray for your face, and that just forms that tacky layer on top of your skin, melts all the powders, and makes your makeup last longer. I love you guys so much, and I will see you soon with a brand new one. Bye guys.